Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's Christine, and this is the interview series of Change Your Mind, Change Your Life. And spending some time with us today is David Gerken. David, I know through my writing career. He's a very popular with lots and lots of followers over at medium.com, where he posts his writing. And he has a fascinating background that spans West Coast, East Coast, high pressure careers in politics. He was a screenwriter for the West Wing, and now he is devoting his time studying and also helping others with meditation and mindfulness. So welcome, David. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks. Good to be here, Christine.
Thank you. So I said a little bit about your background from a career in politics and then screenwriting and now meditation and mindfulness. Maybe you could just kind of summarize how you came about to do such varied things and how one thing led to the other.
Yeah. Well, I'll try and do that as, briefly as possible.
Right.
Sometimes I
And
do
the
that
lifetime.
when I write. Sometimes I'll say, here's my life in 3 sentences,
Yeah.
So the short answer would be grew up in Southern California and youngest of 6 kids with a very high powered, everyone was at Harvard or Stanford or whatever. And dad was a huge successful business guy. So anyway, that was a lot of, let's just call it pressure, whatever you want to call it, for a big issue for me forever. But went off to Princeton, followed by a short stab at professional tennis in Europe, where I got my butt kicked by a bunch of French kids. So that ended quickly, and came back and worked in Washington, D.C. for 14 years.
Wow.
First for Nancy Pelosi, back when she was just another congressman.
Wow.
And then ran a lobbying business and got an MBA and did a bunch of different things. But finally, sort of had a make or break thing in about 96 or 7 or so, when I decided to try my hand at my creative side, which I knew I always had. I was always a little crazy in a good way, I think, but just sort of funny and nuts. So I wrote a script, and my best friend was doing this in Hollywood, so I knew what it was all about. Bottom line, we went out with it in Hollywood. It got great sort of plaudits, and I ended up moving and saying, okay, I'm not going to be a dilettante. Either going to do this or not. Moved to LA, and for the next 18 years was in the screenwriting world, where as you said, I worked on the West Wing, where we won an Emmy the season I was there for best drama series, which was kind of exciting. And wrote movies and pilot shows that didn't get picked up to a theater or a television near you, most of them. But and then it got hard, and I had some kids coming along, and I just sort of was really struggling. It's a hard business, it's just, there's a few slots, whether you're a producer, director, actor, writer, there's a few slots for 9 zillion people who want those slots. Right. So I finally, to deal with that pressure and everything, I started meditating.
Okay.
Back in 2013, I just made this whole plan, and I did it, and I just kept going, and I've been doing it basically most every day. Not every day, but I probably missed 5-10 days a year or something like that, ever since. So and that led to I got so into that in about 2019, I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to shift completely into that and put the Hollywood writing career behind me. And so that's what I've been doing ever since, is just writing about all these topics, dealing with mindfulness, as you said, meditation, and all these kinds of things that are just fabulous. and just great for people. So that's my life in a nutshell.
That's your life in a nutshell. Well, it's fascinating. And I always was intrigued because you really were so, not were, I'm sure you are very driven, very success oriented and in high competition fields, yet you still find that you can meditate. I know when I talk to some people who are very, driven type A like that, they either feel like they don't have the time or that they can't quiet their minds or that they might lose their edge. And being a fellow type A, I've had some of those thoughts myself. So I guess I'm curious, how do you apply meditation in a way that works for you and that maybe something that people like you, like me, can relate to? How everyday people can meditate if they haven't been doing it.
Yeah, one way to look at that is, how do you sell meditation to a type A type?
Right.
And I've done it. I have sold it to. I have a friend who's a big business guy here where I live, and he, believe it, he said exactly what you just said. He said, "No, I'm not going to lose my edge, am I?"
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, he, for the last like 2 years or so, he's been doing it, most every day, and he loves it. And he's still kicking butt in his business world. So, but the way I would quote sell it is that anybody, I don't care who it is, if you're the CEO of GE or whatever, you are not maximizing your potential if you are stuck in your head all the time. No way. You're not even close.
Right. Good point.
And that the true genius that we all have, by the way, is only accessible through a sense of stillness inside. You can't, it's just really hard to sort of reap the benefits of your quote genius when you're just stuck in your head all the time. So when you quiet it down, good things happen. And there's, you look at people like Steve Jobs, who he was kind of like supposedly a bit of a jerk, but boy, he was into meditation. He went to India. He did the whole thing. And he was always, he was creative. He wasn't type, and he also wasn't a guy who was out for, gee, I want to make my first billion by the time I'm 30. Somebody who is just sort of following his gut and following his bliss, so to speak, as Joseph Campbell would call it. And that's what we want to do. By the way, I also sell it this way. It's such a win-win, because not only do you create better work from a place of being able to really focus and, from calmness, you're also happier. I mean, come on. Is that not a win-win?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who wants to sit around feeling just torn up inside all the time? And just that little low to mid-level to high-level constant sense of unease or anxiety, whatever you want to call it, all the time. So,
and then doesn't that just spill over into all the areas of your life, not only work, but relationships, finances, family?
That's what I write about that all the time. Usually, I'm always wondering, God, should I say this again? But it's just true. Well, and a lot of my articles will be, this will make you a better worker, golfer, player, husband, wife, mother, father, friend, brother, sister, better everything when you are operating from that place of quiet. Look, this does, I don't have a problem with this. Some people do. I'm not sort of what do you call it, traditionally religious. I was raised, as an Episcopalian, but my parents weren't the remotest bit religious. But this does, spill into that. You can't avoid it. Like you can call it, sorry, got a little something stuck. You can call it the God within, the spirit, the the intelligence, nature, supreme spirit, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I believe that that is within all of us,
Right.
and that that is what you are accessing when you get this stuff. And so that's why it's it's good for all these things.
Yeah.
So that's my attitude is, or my philosophy is, that is what life, Eckhart Tolle would say life is about, literally your entire life is about becoming more conscious.
Yeah.
Which is
isn't that inner wisdom, that spark of the divine, that higher intelligence, is the quiet voice. And when you're in your go, 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 go mode, you can't hear it or sense it. But how often do you either sit in meditation or take a walk in nature, or maybe you're taking a shower, and it's just this like digital download from the universe, and you calmly know the answer.
Exactly. I look at it this way. Here's the analogy I've come up with to explain what you just said that I think resonates with people. Imagine it's sort of like your car radio. You're in your car, and the radio station, let's just call it God, whatever you want to call it, is sending those sort of radio signals over the air as a radio station does, which is your sort of your destiny, your providence, what what you're meant to be doing, all those good things. And your mind, with all its chatter, creates the static. So those things can't get through that car radio, so you can hear the music. When you calm your mind down and you calm that stuff down, you calm the static down, and so that stuff can come through.
Right.
And you can, and it's mysterious, and it's not, and it's subtle, and it's not like you can just go, okay, I'm ready, let's go. What should I be doing now? But you just sort of surrender to that and say, that's okay. And you just commit yourself to just what I just call getting quiet. That's what I do. I work every day at just trying to become a little more quiet. And that's it. And that's all you do. And then you go about your life. It doesn't mean you sit in a desert cave for 50 years. You go along being a dad and a husband and a writer and a tennis player and all those other things. But you spend your life just sort of, becoming more quiet, doing your practices, and that's it. Becoming more conscious, as Eckhart would say.
Exactly. So where should people begin who haven't meditated before? Maybe they're curious about it or have been frustrated with it in the past. What are some good steps for beginners?
Well, before I get into that, I think even the most important thing is for people to understand that it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
That is the biggest sort of barrier. It's that, oh my God, how do I do this? Oh, wait, so you just sit there and that's mainly the type A's, because a type A has to look at everything and think.
Are you doing it right?
Yeah.
Are you doing this right?
I have a great analogy that I picked up from a guy by the name of Adyashanti. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's just this fantastic meditation teacher, great guy, lives up in the Bay Area near San Francisco. Anyways, he's got this great analogy that when you learn this thing like meditation, most of education goes where you start in kindergarten, and you then go to primary, secondary, then you go to college, then you maybe get your master's, and then you get your PhD. And he said with meditation, it's the opposite. Most people start as a PhD. They're already there. They're thinking, blah, 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 blah. And the goal is to go in reverse to where the end game is to be in kindergarten, which is what the Zen Buddhists, I think, would call, beginner's mind. That's really, and then people are like, well, no, that really is it. You are just trying to get back to where you are simply able to be present the way we were when we were 5 or 6 or 7 years old, where we would look at something and go, wow, that's cool. And we didn't just analyze it and think about every which way that, things work and this and that. It's just being present. So the same holds true for meditation. And you want to make it simple. It really is just, as I define it, it is just placing your attention on something that is happening in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason people pick breathing, and have done so for thousands of years, is because breathing is just it's because it happens in the present. You can't breathe 5 minutes from now, and you can't breathe 5 minutes ago. It's just happening right now. So it's something you can follow. That's happening right now. And then inevitably you will get distracted, because especially in the beginning, you're going to get distracted, because that's how minds work. Almost everybody, unless you're just a freak of nature, your mind is going to say, oh, wait, God, this sucks. I hate this. I'm bored. Let's think about what we're going to have for lunch. And meditation is about just noticing that, going, okay, and bringing it right back to what you're doing, and following.
Without judgment. Right.
Yeah. Well, I've written about this, and I would say that the number one most important thing, and any of your listeners, I hope, if they remember anything about meditation, it would be this: that in order to be, quote, successful, and by successful I mean you keep doing it. There's one thing that is absolutely imperative, which is you have to be patient and good to yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't, and I'm not even saying that as some woo-woo-y new agey guy who's like, hey, you got to be good to yourself. I think it is good to be good to yourself. That's not why I'm saying it, though. I'm saying it as a practical, business-like guy in the past who looked at something and said what works and what doesn't, and what causes failure. And the number one thing that you will find with people is, oh, I just sucked. I was so frustrated. I was so bad. I was like, forget about it.
Yeah.
That's someone who's not, you have to be able to go, okay, I did it again.
Right.
I grew up again. There's a guy named John Kabat-Zinn who's one of my absolute favorite. Have you heard of him?
Big name in the meditation world.
Yeah. Oh, he's such a great guy. I love him. But he's got this thing where he says, look, if your mind wanders off 1,000 times, you simply bring it back 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And it's sort of it's just, that is the process. And people think that they should be able to just stay on their breath for 15 minutes in a row. It's like, I mean, Buddha could barely do that. Anyway, and then as far as how to get started, I would say do guided meditations. Don't make it as easy as possible. You don't get any extra credit points for making it harder. Just
good point.
All you want to do is get better at being able to be following something in the present for a short amount of time each day.
Right.
They can go to my website, davidgerken.net. I have a free little program that the goal was to make it as easy as possible for people to get into it. So that's one place to start. There's also all kinds of great stuff. I mean, that's the one great thing about the internet, is there's just zillions of free things out there.
Right.
You can go to, just, type in meditation for beginners or something like that, and there'll be 8,000, little guided meditations.
I'll put the link to your website in the description for this video, and also I'll pin it at the top of the comments, your website, and where they can also read your blogs over at medium.com.
Yeah.
But you said a couple things that really struck me, and I just want to repeat them for people watching. The concept of the mind of the child, and people will probably correct me in the comments, but that's also even biblical, like to enter the kingdom of heaven, you have to become as a child. And just to, when you think of the layer upon layer upon layer of the the judgments, the shoulds, the woulds, the regrets, the griefs, the opinions, the labels that we accumulate over a lifetime. And if we can just peel those away, detach from them, not be so embedded in them, our mind is becoming more childlike to look at the world with awe and wonder without so much judgment. And that is really, I think, where peace can be found, peace and happiness.
Oh, you just nailed it right on the head. I should add a massively huge part of the puzzle on this, which I do a lot of. I study and just love this guy named Michael Singer. I don't know if you've heard of Untethered. So, and you're in Florida. I don't know. I can't remember where you are in Florida, but he's in Gainesville. I'm like,
he's not too far. Yeah,
you ought to go out. I'm going to go out there in a few months explicitly for just going to see his talks for a couple days. I'm so excited. But anyway, his big thing, which is just why I really love him, is that he's very into the meditation and all that stuff. But his point is, unless you let go of sort of the sort of emotional, egoic baggage that we have all gathered from our past, from our family situation to our genetic situation, whatever it is, we all have stuff. And if you don't let it go, it's just sitting there. And his point is you can go to every retreat and you can meditate for 3 hours a day, every day. But if you don't get rid of that stuff, it's still going to sort of guide your life, and it's going to influence every decision you make and every action you take. So I write a lot about that. And I my New Year's resolution 2023, focus on letting go.
Yeah.
That's
and we let it go and it comes back a little, and then we let it go again and it comes back a little.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Exactly. That used to frustrate me, or I talk to people who get frustrated, but that's how the human condition works, and just embrace that. And then you can look back today, comparing a year ago or 5 years ago, and how that baggage is lighter.
Yes. And it's subtle. When you just said you let some go and then it comes back. Well, I would say it's not that it's coming back, it's that you let a little bit go.
Yes.
And then a little bit more comes out and you're like, God, I thought I let go of that.
Right.
But it's it's just it's so important. I look at it as it's sort of it's a barrier to what I've talked about before, that accessing, that genius and God, whatever you want to call it, inside us, which we all have. We end up sort of, like it's a big word, accreting or adding or whatever you want to call it, all this stuff from the time, all through childhood, adulthood, etc. And so the goal of life, it is sort of like Michelangelo sculpting the statue of David, which is it's at the start just a massive block of marble, but there's this genius and beautiful thing within there. But every day he's just chiseling, and each one of those little pieces that he's doing away is just a little more of that baggage falling away, and a little more, and finally, once you get all of it done, there it is, this beautiful, timeless piece of art that we all are. And I really mean that now. I'm not even saying that like hyperbolically. Everyone has that. It just takes work to get rid of those pieces of marble.
Yeah.
And patience.
The more we can see it in ourselves, the more we can see it in others. And I think that just helps to fuel that whole process to happen with more grace.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway.
Yeah. I just think that's a wonderful gem to leave people with. The idea, there is a Rumi quote about you are not the granite, you are the ruby. And when will you see that.
Yeah.
So that gem that is within.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we could go on for days talking about these really cool topics.
I love this stuff. That's why I'm doing it. And I think it's so important. That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Just,
Same here.
yeah. Good. Good. Well, you're doing great work. I love your site.
Oh, thank you.
So
thank you for being a part of it, for publishing under the publication, and for being here to have an interview on video. And again, I'll put your contact information in the video description and in the comments. And we hope to have you back again another day to chat, and maybe I'll see you in Gainesville.
Sounds good. I like it.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Talk soon.
Before people go, please subscribe so that you can be notified when new videos drop and hear more great conversations like today's. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. But the Bhagavad Gita is huge on do your work and do not get attached to the results. Stop it,
I know.
And so I've really worked on that. And it's, like my writing, I'll tell you, I don't do a thing as far as, okay, I've got to, push it out this way and push it out that way. And, all these followers have come and I have done nothing. So to me, that's the universe saying, there you go.
Yeah, you're on to some
work and let it go and just focus on that, So.
Anyway. All right, cool. Well, we'll save that for our conversation. All right, thanks for being here. Before you leave, please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you'll know when I go live or when a new video drops. And visit me at ChristineBradstreet.com. Love to y'all. Bye-bye. See you soon.